Good evening, everyone. Welcome to another edition of the Gray Area on the Black Man Unfiltered Network, also simulcasting on the Sparta HQ Network. I'm Mr. Bennett, joined by my partner, as always,
This is Sparta!
the Ghost of Sparta, aka Peter, aka Paniotis. Yasu, my brother, what's going on? Really?
I've been on a Greek music kick today at work, and I pissed half of my staff off because I had Greek music all day long. So
Greek music,
yeah. Why not just bring to the show too?
Wow, I hear you. Now, what kind of music is this? Like pop? Is this rap? Is this traditional? What kind of
classical?
What's that?
Is it
classical Greek? Oh, okay, cool,
Yeah.
cool.
Even the modern stuff, they still have the classical feel to
I
it.
got you. Yeah, you got to have the background and whatnot. It's got to have that kind of flavor to it and whatnot. But that's cool, man. Definitely got to hit me up with some music on my playlist. Since I'm traveling so much these days, I can add to my playlist there and listen to some stuff. But
Actually, I have it also saved on my personal YouTube channel, so I can share that to you when we're done with the show.
Awesome. Good stuff. Well, once again, everyone, welcome to another edition of the Gray Area. Appreciate you guys being here. Tonight is our call-in show. So certainly, we are going to drop the link in the chat shortly. Anybody who wants to kind of come up and chat it up with us, certainly you're welcome to do so. Now, again, we must see your face certainly before you come on. And certainly we usually insist on camera. We only make that exception for a couple people, and they know who they are. But generally speaking, if you want to get on the show, anything you want to talk about as far as past content, past shows that we've done. I know we've been doing a lot of shows, more so on more personal, more intimate matters, more relational things, and necessarily, beyond borders. We've been dealing with as of late, but certainly anything that you guys want to, from that content that you want to bring up, any questions that you may have for us, you can certainly be sure to come up and, certainly chime that up, chat it up with us. And certainly as you come in tonight, make sure you hit the like button on both platforms. Go to the Sparta HQ Network, hit the like button there, as well as on the Black Men Unfiltered Network. Also consider dropping a Cash App or a Super Chat to the Black Men Unfiltered Network. We appreciate any support that you may give us there. And certainly for our own personal Cash Apps, we appreciate any support that you guys give us. But yeah, so link's going to be going in shortly. Anybody who wants to join the conversation, again, you're welcome to it as long as you abide by our rules. But with that, so this has been, certainly I'm home, which is a good thing. Certainly always appreciate being home, but I got a 6 a.m. flight right out of here, and we run it back. Just got my schedule. So this is my third. I've been away 3 weeks in a row. Certainly I've been away for work. I'm in the South, and helping to open up a giant warehouse down there. And, so they want me working on site in that capacity. So this is certainly opening me up to business travel. Haven't traveled like this really before I was married, interestingly enough. So I haven't done this stuff since you talk about the mid 90s when I did this type of travel. So certainly it's an adjustment. I love travel, though. I love planes. To me, the greatest experience to me still to this day is when a plane takes off and when a plane lands. I drive by on the New Jersey Turnpike every day, and I see those planes landing and taking off, and it's still thrilling to me to this day. So, I like the idea of traveling and whatnot. I'm, getting better at it since, again, I haven't done this on the regular in quite some time. So I've enjoyed that process, but it certainly comes with its challenges, no question. And one of the things that I certainly want to, as we wait for people to join in, one of the things that you have to consider is, the question that a lot of people ask is, does absence make the heart grow fonder? A lot of people may have heard that in the past. Is being away a good thing? Especially when you when it comes to marriage, or at what point does it become detrimental? And I know both of us, we know a lot of guys, military guys. I mean, what happens when, a guy gets deployed for 6 months in Afghanistan or some other place or whatever? What does that do? We've heard stories about, marriages, not necessarily surviving that, or things that, that go on and whatnot. Should that be something I need to be worried about? Certainly as we go forward with this, because my travel schedule has me through all the rest of this month. So my schedule is going to be, I fly out Sunday night, and I come back Friday night. So I'm here basically Saturday Sunday, and then it's kind of back out again. And so, that's going to be my life for a while, at least up to the first or second week in September. And so we'll just have to see how things work out there. But so far, so good. My wife and I, we had a pretty decent conversation, and sort of about this and kind of what expectations are and whatnot. So again, we're still working through it. And again, it's a new experience for both of us. But one thing I am happy about is that, the fact that my kids are grown. If I had young kids, I think it would be more of a challenge. I know some of the guys I work with, they have younger kids. And so, sometimes there's a worry about what are you missing out on. But, certainly a lot of things are getting revealed in terms of this, travel, in terms of your value, your necessity to the family, the things that people sometimes take for granted that you take care of when you're there. And when you're not there, it's kind of like they're calling up like, Dad, where is this? Where's that? Because, again, there's just things that you handle. So that's some of the things I might want to, as we, certainly get into the conversations tonight, some of the things that we may want to share and some things we might want to talk about during the course of the conversation. So, so to be prepared for that. But what say you guys do? So some of you guys in the chat, do you guys travel for work, for business? If you're military, how do you guys deal with that? How do you deal with the idea of being separated from your partner for extended periods of times, or at least, more times you're away in a given month than you are at home? How do you guys manage that? But I know, Pete, before we got on tonight, you were talking about, the last relationship you had where you had one of your exes when they had to go away for a while, you weren't there, and that was just something getting used to. So why don't you talk about that a little bit, as well as anything else you want to, any thoughts in your mind as we, about to drive to the link and have people come into the show.
So when I was in my last relationship, she had to go away for, I think it was a month, if I'm not mistaken. It was difficult because I was not used to her being away for that long. I got used to her being home every night, in bed with me every night, having her next to me, and doing the nasty every night. So right. It was weird. But what made the relationship, that part of the relationship, very hard. So she was in DR. Her brother visited, and then he decided to bring some friends, some guys I did not know that were staying at her parents' house. I was not okay with that. I blew my fucking lid. So I went to her pretty much. If remember, don't power quote me. Like I went to her similar. Like, so you telling me you're at a different country that I am nowhere near access to, with 3 guys that I don't know who the fuck they are, in the same house with you, staying at the same house with you. Oh, what's the big deal? They're Sammy's friends. I'm like, I don't give a shit who fucking friends they are. I didn't feel it was appropriate knowing some guys are with you that I don't know, single guys. B, they're staying in your same house with you. And 3, that I don't feel comfortable with. And that part was very difficult because we were arguing, and guess what? She did not realize we were arguing. And I remember that she didn't realize I needed to get her on the phone to speak about this. Literally, we're going back and forth, and she had an international plan through her carrier. She had T-Mobile, so she can call and text fine. And we're going back and forth about this. So eventually, after the 3rd day, she finally get me on the phone, and she goes, "I have a minute to talk." Fine. I'm like, "You should make this a priority to talk. If we're arguing about this, it's a reason we're arguing about this. So you should have dropped what you're doing or made time, not after 3 days almost. That's when you're going to decide to have fucking time." So traveling away, it could be very difficult to any relationship. I don't care if it's business or whatever it is. It can be very hard on somebody. If that make any sense here or no?
Yeah, absolutely. I think there has to be a certain level of intention if you know you're going to be away from someone, especially if you're breaking norms. So again, like I said, this is the first time. And again, shout out to Trey, certainly in the chat tonight. Really appreciate you being here. Marianne Constantine, Certainly appreciate you being here, my man Eric in the building. We actually got together. So again, me and my man Andre, like once a year we get together. We broke bread. We had lunch together. So it was great,
Nice.
getting the band back together and getting Craig Lucas. Certainly we appreciate you being here. Yes, definitely. Ozzy Osbourne, and there was a whole slew of deaths from last week. Michael Jamal Warner, Hulk Hogan. So we talked about some of that last week as well. But again, appreciate you guys being here as well. So we're talking about when something's changed. Now, it's one thing when you go into a relationship and you are, there's expectations, or a person travels, or they're military. But what happens when there's a change? And shout out to Always Lost in Translation. Certainly appreciate. Go visit him again if you want deep, thoughtful conversation, especially on marriages. I don't know. This might be a topic for Lost and his crew to deal with. Maybe on his show. But check him out. I believe he comes on Monday nights. If I'm stand corrected, if not, Lost, put your information in the chat as well. And, certainly definitely support the Brothers channel also. He's doing some good work over there as well. But again, what happens when there's a change in the norm? Where, again, I came into this job, even I wasn't expecting to travel much. And then this opportunity opened up. And, so I was like, yeah, let's do it. Like I said, my kids, we just had a big celebration party. I got one daughter next week, actually, Sunday morning next week. I take her to the airport. To JFK Airport. She's going to medical school, so she's going to be going out of the country next week. So she's mostly going to be gone for a couple years, coming home for breaks and whatnot. So she's going away. I got my last daughter just graduated college. So again, it's not like I got young kids that I need to be dealing with, but certainly there is still that influence that I have with them, and you want to keep that communication line open. So so you definitely have that. But when there's a change in the dynamic, how do you handle that? What kind of conversations do you think that you have to have? And certainly in your case, it seems like she went away with these things. There weren't a lot of things communicated, and it definitely did seem like there wasn't a lot of care and attention to your needs and what your sensitivities were. When it came to this. So so certainly that could possibly be more of an indicator of, I guess, maybe the state of the marriage prior to that. But certainly
certainly not together anymore.
Yeah. But I mean, that could have been problems that would have been there anyway, whether or not you were together, together or not. So again, it's not so much the issue, it's a change. And just like with any change, it does offer some differences, some nuances there that that you may need to work through. That again we haven't experienced. So this is just another sort of phase in our relationship. And but no, it hasn't created any problems per se. But certainly, but we're asking people who are out there as well, if it has been a problem in the past, or how have you dealt with if you basically, I'm home basically every weekend, and so if you how did we get through the changes? And the changes, we were together, right? So that's the thing. Everything with our kids growing up and changes in careers and everything that we did, we were together. Like I said, we've never probably been no more than a weekend apart from each other in 30 years. Now you're to a point where I'm only home on a weekend. And so it's not, like I said, it's a change more so than, I'm not going to classify it as a problem. But the fact that we're going through this, I'm asking the question for people who certainly do travel, if you travel for work or for business or whatever it is, how do you keep things together? How do you keep things moving so that it doesn't become a problem? That's part of the conversation that we're looking to have, tonight. So certainly these were some thoughts that I was having, and as we wait for people to come in. In fact, I'm going to drop the link right now. If Trey, if you want to join us, anybody wants to join us for the conversation tonight, the link has been dropped in the chat. So certainly you're free to come up and join us for the conversation, as well as any other topics that might be on your mind as we flesh these things out. But again, obviously one of the biggest changes is again, you're not together. So I'll just leave it there. So again, and it doesn't matter, you could do it 20 times over the weekend. But that doesn't necessarily mean that it's not the same thing as when you had access to it every night. So that's a change. That's clearly a change in the dynamic that's never really been there before until now. So again, how do you deal with that? How do you?
One thing, Paul.
Go for it.
It's different having a conversation face to face with somebody. Even you're not intimate person, you just need. after a long night, or a rough day, or one of those days, you just want to talk to your wife or your girlfriend and have dinner with her, or just have a conversation, or have a cold beer, or whatever you guys do, and
Very much.
that it's different when you're far away, and I think that's some people don't understand that. And when I dealt with it, I didn't like it personally.
Yeah, it's weird because that was one of the things that I noticed right away. Because when I'm home, a lot of times, like the conversation in the house, it's like house conversation. Like my wife and I could be talking in the kitchen, then somebody comes into the room and just joins the conversation, and we're all kind of in the conversation at once. Yes, Trey. Yes, I don't have your in-house. Yes, that is a reality that I've never had to deal with until now. So yes, that's absolutely true. But one of the things as far as the conversation is, it's like, so one may join and the conversation may go all over the place. But the thing is, we're together. You know what I'm saying? So again, we've had conversations where it's me and my wife, then one daughter comes in, then another daughter comes in, then a third daughter comes in. We're just all, and it just becomes this sort of dynamic sort of conversation. But that also happened when I was away. I think might have been the second weekend. So again, I called my wife. It was late at night, so I called her, and we're talking, and then one comes in, and then another one comes in, and then it's about, did you hear what happened with Harry and Susie or whatever? And then the conversation kind of goes in a different direction, but I'm still feeling like I'm on the outside, like they're together in the house, but I'm on the phone. And so it kind of got to a point where it's like, hello, I'm still here. Or if you guys need to have this conversation, then click away. So my wife and I, we actually talked about that. It's like, look, a lot of times, I don't mind catching up with the family and seeing what's going on and whatnot. But if I'm calling you late at night or whatever, I want some, we want some more intimate conversation. I want to talk to you. I'm not, I can touch base with the girls later on and whatnot, but it's like me and you. And she was like, she acknowledged that. It's like, yeah, it's like I kind of let the conversation kind of get, all folks in where it could have been, look, I'm on the phone with your dad. I'll talk to you later, or we'll pick this up later. But, sometimes she gets caught up in the conversations of everybody else, and they'll be like, hi, dad, on the phone. And it's like, so that kind of thing, it's like, so keeping even with a phone conversation when we're together, it's easier. Like the kids already know if our door is closed, you don't enter, or you don't interrupt unless it's very important. Those kind of boundaries are set up in the house when we're together. But on the phone, those barriers, that understanding needs to be there also. Where it's like, I'm on the phone, I'm busy, and no, we can't talk right now. I'll talk to you later. Those kind of boundaries also kind of need to be need to be set. And so those are just things that my wife and I kind of talked about. It's like, look, I love everybody, but while I'm talking to you, it's just about, I want to know what's going on with you, and the conversation should be about us, not about necessarily everything that might be going on with everybody else that really got nothing to do with us. So that's something that, that we talked about, and we kind of come to terms with. So you're right, that needs to be our conversation. And it doesn't be that just someone just needs to kind of come in and bogart the conversation just because they do that at home. It doesn't work the same thing on the phone. So that's one example where things had to be, discussed to make sure that we don't have those kind of things that happen. But yeah, certainly. So what's your thoughts on that? I mean, a phone conference being in person, the type of conversation you will have in person versus the kind of conversation you'll have on the phone. Like, do you find a difference in that type of conversation when you're together?
It's a huge difference. It's night and day, because it's a different vibe, a different feeling. When you're seeing a person right here, hey, I'm having a conversation, even through FaceTime. It's different. Phone call, FaceTime, and face to face. Three different things. Excuse me. Versus that, like even me personally, with my ex, and like I put boundaries in the house, and that's one thing her kids did not understand, and what my boundaries were, and they love pushing those boundaries. And then he said, "Oh well, we weren't raised like that." Like, well, change, because it was the Wild Wild West before I walked in, and now I'm putting the law down.
Mm-hmm.
So, and she was cool with it, but some of them didn't like it, some of them did. but the boundaries need to be there for a reason. Because if you're doing whatever with your wife in private, they don't need to barge in. They need to know, okay, door's closed for a reason.
Yeah. And like I said, though, I mean that has been long established for some time. So again, that was never an issue. But now that we're away, now the phone conversation becomes more intimate, and so now we're saying that the phone is also a protected place. Whereas before, we could be talking, someone comes in, and like I said, we're in the living room or whatever, and we're just kicking it. And someone just comes in or whatever, and it just the conversation, it becomes a family conversation. We never said to anybody, okay, you have to get out because we're having a conversation. If it's like that, then we go upstairs and we close the door. If we have to have that kind of conversation, but at home, it's a different dynamic than when you're away from one another. So that time becomes I think a bit more a bit more precious. And whatnot. So that was certainly one thing that I noticed that was different, and that we had to have a conversation on. But as far as everything else, I mean, I think you certainly recognize, I think, your value. Because again, I come home and there's just a bunch of just come home this weekend. There was like a myriad of things that I just had to take care of that people may take for granted that I take care of because I'm home. But when I come home, it's like everything has to be, okay, I have a list of things that have to get done behind the scenes. It's almost like Secret Service. Like, you don't know that these things that need to be done, but these things are being done just to make sure that the house runs the way it's supposed to run, and that, when you go outside, you're not going to get a ticket because the car registration, for example, isn't taken care of. Just certain things that you just manage and take care of, but you just have to do it, certainly in a smaller space of time. And so, so when I come home, the idea that the weekends are very concentrated, and it's not to the point where it's like, when I'm home, for the 2 days that I'm here, any other, unless it's very important, most of that time is going to be for my wife. You know what I mean? It's like, it's us, it's date time. I talked to you earlier about certain things, places or certain shows I may or may not be on, because it's like when we're home, it's just about us and everybody else. Like I said, I got to move my daughter out next week, but outside of that, it's about us. So if someone asks me, hey, can you do this? We're going here, we're going to the game, we're going, nah, I'm spending time with my wife, and that's it. And so until this, passes, hopefully it lasts a month, but it may go a couple months in. We'll see, what happens with this project. But but my calendar, I keep my Saturdays. It's us, and everything else is secondary, unless it was a prior commitment that was made. But then, after this weekend, the calendar's clear. So we talk about, we go out, we go to shows, we do us, and everything else is basically put on hold. And so those are things that we are doing. Those are things that we're doing to make sure that we keep the intimacy, that we keep us being the priority, and just not letting things just drift. And then before you know it, it's like, I'm going away, I'm coming home. It's like you don't feel honored or valued when you're at home. You make home special, and you want to be treated as special. Certainly when you're home, and you want you just want to have that between us. So those are just some things that we're doing to make sure that we keep things as on the good, and just not let things drift out. Again, I don't know how much of this is going to be a part of my life going forward. Like I said, hopefully it'll be a short period of time, but like I said, it is different, and making sure that those touch points, we don't miss some of those things. I think those are important. But again, if anyone is out there, if you've traveled for work or for business, this is the Call-In Show. The link has already been put in the chat. If you want to come up and talk about this or any other topic that we've talked about in the past, the lines are open, and certainly you're free to join. Just keep it respectful as always, and let's have a good conversation. But any more thoughts on this? Yeah.
Now, do you feel like your relationship turned into a long distance marriage in a way right now?
Not yet per se. But again, it's just those little. I put it this way: I could see from the 3 weeks that I've done this so far, I could see how things can get off a kilter if you don't take care of certain things.
Mhm.
I could certainly see a guy, if he's in his feelings, if he's got those urges and those things aren't being met, or the idea that from the home front, those things aren't addressed, let's say that, or spoken to, or like I said, you don't create a spirit of intimacy. If you're just, you're just away and people kind of forget about you after a while, I can certainly understand how a person may start, being open themselves up to different temptations when they're away. I can certainly see that. If someone's giving them attention or they feel neglected in certain ways or whatever, that's what I'm saying. Being proactive about making sure that you keep tight on your relationships that way I think that's a good thing to do. But I can certainly see, as far as the idea of long distance, you have to make sure that you handle that in certain ways. Otherwise, it can get, it could be any given time, because again, you go on all these work sites and whatnot, and afterwards people go to dinner, and who knows? I mean, fortunately, the place I'm in, there's not a lot of light life. Okay, like it's not I'm in the deep south. It's in a kind of a remote area, so it's not like we're not in the ATL. Okay, so it's definitely not that kind of situation where there's a bunch of temptations that are out there. But certainly,
here's my pushback on that is, even though nightlife doesn't stop people being, stop people doing what they want. At the end of the day, if they want to go have a few drinks with a coworker and she's looking good, things can happen.
It's potentially, absolutely, but you got to be proactive. But we have our first guest, certainly coming into the show tonight. As always, he follows many of the contents on the network. So we have Trey Taylor in the house tonight. How are you doing, sir?
I'm good. What's going on, fellas?
It's good. I'm good, man. It's good to hear from you. Good to hear from you. So, what's going on with you?
So I came up here to give you crap.
Always. Now you have to explain to me. Now you've been talking to this reference. I think I know what you're talking about, but explain this hall pass that you're talking about.
I mean, I'm just a little bit confused as to why. I mean, you've been married for what? It's up close to 3 decades now, right? Like 28, 29 years.
We're in season 29. Right? Yes.
Yeah. So I'll just round up and just say 3 decades.
Sure.
Right.
Yep.
You guys can't work out a hall pass situation where you can get a little something on the side while you traveling. You know what I mean? To keep yourself satisfied. I mean, because it's not like y'all leaving each other. 30 years, y'all ain't going nowhere. So at this point, and it's not like the traveling, like you said, it didn't come with the job. When I was in the military, it came with the job, right?
Right.
So any woman who dated me knew that. Matter of fact, I carried a phone. I had an on-call phone, so at any moment I could get called up, right? But I did do a long distance relationship for almost 2 years. I was stationed in Turkey, so we were together for a while. We talked on the phone every day, and it doesn't work. It's not the same, especially when you're young, like you're in your 20s. Your girl is hot, you know what I mean? She's sexy. It's like, man, this is not. So you have to come up with something. For me, I don't understand. At 30 years, it's like he ain't going nowhere. Y'all not going to leave each other at the end of the day. Why not work out some sort of situation where? But I get it. I mean, you guys take vows, and
Yeah, that I did. That's just not part of my thought process. Like I could never, like, I don't even allow women, like, even for business, for work and whatnot, people travel together on, get a car together and go to different places. I don't even do that. I stay away from women, period. So I just never let that door get open in any capacity. I don't do any one-on-ones. I mean, it's got to be always everything above board, everything about business, but I just have no desire.
So would you say that you're suffering now?
Suffering? Man, that's a tough word. I mean, look, obviously I miss the intimacy. I miss the physicality. Obviously you're not getting as much. And like I said, there's only so much you can get within a weekend before you kind of go out again. But
absolutely.
Yeah. So my thing is, but intimacy, I think, is also important. And so for me, it's like, again, those conversations that I have with her at late at night, I think that they become different. Like I said, when we're home or whatever, I know I'm going to have access to it later or whatever. So again, kids come in, they can barge in and all that kind of stuff. And, we just do, it's just organic that way. But in this particular situation, it's like when I'm talking to you, it's more so, it's about the connection more so as much as the physical. I can deal with the physical, but it's about the connection is what, like, I don't want that sort of that slow drift. Because a lot of times you're right, people don't just break up like after so many years because of an incident or what have you. But I think a lot of times it's that slow drift. And if that happens continually over time, then you can find yourself in a position it's like, oh, what happened there? And then because you weren't necessarily being attentive to, more so talking, because when we even talk, I don't even talk so much about the job per se. I mean, we talk, I'll share a little bit, but she doesn't necessarily care about the technical detail and the robots that I'm dealing with and all that kind of stuff. It's more so about how you doing and how you feeling and what's going on here or there, whatever, or talking about, hey, when I come home.
And do you tell her the truth that you horny as hell and it sucks?
Oh, 100%. 100%. I mean, that to me, that's part of that intimate dialogue that I don't necessarily want my kids in on. Now, I can gross them out. One time I even said, look, I'm talking to your mom about our lack of sex. They'll be like, ew, and they just leave the room. So so I don't mind traumatizing my kids talking about, yeah, we about to talk dirty. We're talking some nasty here. So if you don't want that trauma, then I suggest you leave the room. And so sometimes you just have to step up and be, forthright that way. But like I said, when I'm that phone, go back to when we were dating, when we were, again, we were celibate. We didn't have sex before marriage. Those type of conversations and that kind of talk. So again, it's kind of trying to build that again. We didn't have to do this because we were together. Now we're apart. Now it's almost like I gotta, dust off the playbook.
Yeah, but isn't that working? Aren't you working in reverse now?
Yeah, for the time being, I'm saying I'm dusting off an old playbook. That certainly works.
But you're married. You shouldn't have to. See, this is where I get confused with marriage and why I'm so anti-marriage. Like so you've done this. You've been together for 29 years. You really haven't been apart, and life throws a wrench at you, and things change up, and it's like, so now you're basically back to. I mean, it's almost high school. Like it's starting over.
Mm-hmm.
But you shouldn't have to, because this isn't your high school girlfriend. This is your wife. You have kids with her. Like this is your wife, and yet you're having these conversations as if you are, And I remember having those conversations myself in high school, and but we was having sex in high school, so I mean, it's a different time, obviously, but. Right. But I don't know. To me, I have this feeling, and I just say this all the time. I think husbands it's just like the worst place to be. And every time I think that it's not as bad, somebody will remind me that no, it is. It is really that bad. It's really a bad position to be in. This is just another example of, your job says you have to travel. It is what it is. You're not gonna lose your job off of that. That's stupid, right? So your job says you have to travel, but now it's caused another problem to where you have to sort of, it's like involuntarily repressed you sexually. Like you didn't ask for it, but it's happened. It's happened. And well, now what do you do? And
that's what I'm asking. And that's now again, the hall pass idea, again, that would be too much for me. I'm not saying that doesn't work for certain people in certain relationships, and we all understand, people have arrangements and agreements and everything. KS used to talk about that, and no embarrassment, no babies, no nothing else going on. So I get that there's a protocol that some people live by. I'm saying that's not part of my protocol code, so that's not an option for me. So again, if I talk about what's that,
I actually agree with you. Can't believe it was in my mouth, because I know we butt head on a couple of this stuff like me and you do. But if you're adding a third wheel into the chemistry, it's going to cause problems. And it might not mean immediately, maybe down the road or something. I don't care if you're married.
Honestly, I don't know. I
think
that's Ray's point.
That's because you guys have sex with emotions.
Right.
That's the problem. If this woman is there just to serve a purpose, here's the thing. I don't think that, and I'm not encouraging you to cheat. I know you're not.
I know you're not.
But I'm not encouraging you. I'm just asking the question because my thing is, if I've been married for 30 years, where am I going? If I were to get married and I was married for 30 years, I'd be 70. Where am I going? I'm not going anywhere. Just let me go have my fun. I'm not going anywhere. Right. But I look at this like, if I were to have a physical situation with another woman, doesn't mean that I still can't be intimate with my lady that night on the phone. I can still do that. This is more of a release. I need to get this out of my system because, well, biology, and I can't really help it, right? I'm gonna feel this way. And this is the reason why I say this. I have breakfast with veterans every morning. These guys are 88 and 89 years old. And do you know what they talk about every morning?
No.
Women. They talk about women every morning. Every hot chick that walks in, they 89 years. I don't even know if their stuff even still works. I have no clue. But I will tell you one time, there's a guy, he actually asked me, where can he go get an STD? So at 88 years old, they're still having these same urges because biology just doesn't leave your body. As a man, testosterone doesn't leave your body. As a man, it's still there. So it's just I'm just thinking of it's like I couldn't imagine being in that situation, and there's really no recourse for you.
Right. Well, let me ask you this, not to get too personal or whatever on this. So you're saying again, I get testosterone and I get release. Now, again, there's different ways a man can release. You still would have a difference between doing it with a woman who's just serving that purpose, or if you just took matters into your own hands. That's still different.
I've done both. Hell, I've done both. I mean, to be honest with you, Mr. Bennett, I've done both. There've been times where, and I'll be honest with you. Majority of the times, I had to take matters into my own hands. Right. I had to service and please myself to get that out of my system. Right. Especially when I was in the long distance relationship. Right. Because it wasn't like I was on the other side of the country. I was over an entire body of water. It would take 2 days to get home. So that wasn't an option. And yes, look, she can sound as sexy as she wants to, and she can talk as dirty as she wants to, and we video chat, and all of that works up until a certain point. Even that starts to get boring after a while. That doesn't work for the long term. But I know in the one situation where she got sent to Portugal, and I was out of the military by this time. I was back in the U.S. She told me straight up, "Hey, look. Do what you got to do. I get it as you're a man, you got to do what you got to do." But it didn't change the intimacy between me and her because we still stayed on the phone and talked for 3 hours or however long it was every night, 3 hours, 4 hours, whatever the case may be. I just needed that woman to serve that one. And I was honest about it. I told her straight up, look, I got a girlfriend. She's just in Portugal right now. There's nothing I can do. So don't get attached. Don't catch feelings because this isn't going anywhere. I need your body. I don't need you. You know what I mean? If I can be honest, I don't need you. I need your body. But I can understand, like you said, to people who've been in marriages and people who are in good marriages, healthy marriages, this is not an option. So what I mean? Like, I feel bad because well, what do you do? What do you do?
Yeah. But I guess if I was debating on it, do you find a distinction between self-pleasure and another woman's body? Like, is that on the same plane with you? Is it the same thing, or is it still
no? There is no. Let's just be honest here. I'm gonna try to keep it as PG as I possibly can.
I appreciate it.
but there is no better feeling than being with a woman. I think we as men can agree on that, right?
Sure.
There is no better feeling, especially if it's raw. There is no better feeling.
Yeah.
Right. So the service of yourself is just it's legitimately to serve a purpose. It just
correct.
You need that release, right? Especially if you have a high, like I had a job that was high in what do you call it? Like it was high action, you know what I mean? Like I was carrying 2 guns every day. I had a
so it was stress.
canine, had a dog. It was stress, high stress job. Yeah. responding to alarms and dealing with people trying to hop the gate on the base and stuff. Like, it's a high stress job. So yeah, most people need a release. I would imagine people in tech and people in, you know, first responders and things like that. When you're in this type of high stress positions, you need a release. But there is no comparison between Miss Palmer and a woman. They're not even in the same ballpark. They're not in the same ballpark.
Right.
If I had my choice, I would always pick a woman.
Right. And look, and we've talked about that. I mean, you know, our feelings, what measures we've taken. I mean, those have been part of the conversations. You know what I mean? So again, to me, that is a very intimate conversation that I'll have with her. It's like, you know, how you feeling, or if you were, what did you how'd you take care of it or whatever. So again, that's part of for me anyway, that is very satisfactory, the fact that we could be that naked and transparent with each other with that. But it's never come up with us to say, like, you know, oh, well, I saw this woman and I got tempted or whatever, and we just were going to do something with it. Like I said, that's just not in my in my wheelhouse. But I get it. And like I said, and I have no problem necessarily with couples if they have that kind of understanding, as long, you know, because I think even KS used to talk about that. You know, that's not cheating per se. If you have like an agreement that these things are going to happen, but there's rules, I don't necessarily look at that as cheating. Now, someone may still say, well, it's infidelity, it's whatever. But again, as long as no one's being deceived as far as what's going on, I'm not going to necessarily judge that situation. It's like, look, it works. It works for them. I'm just saying it wouldn't work for me. So again, I got no judgment for people who take that kind of thing. And again, you guys are grown and you understand those things. But at the end of the day, you keep your marriage together, you keep in legacy and whatnot. So again, I understand those kind of relationships.
I know quite a few marriages that are quote unquote open, and they do just fine.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, I'm not in the house with them. I'm not a fly on the wall, so I don't know what happens behind closed doors. But their marriages seem to be doing just fine. Hell, I was a side piece for a woman for a little while when I was stationed in New Jersey, and I think I helped them because they wound up having 2 kids after we were done. So wow. You know what I mean? Like I tell her all the time, I'm responsible for you and your marriage working out. Here's the thing. I don't think, and this is one of the things that I think society has gotten awfully wrong. I don't think that any marriage is the same. I think every marriage, to some degree, they have their own way of working it out between those two people. I think society has put a ton of pressure on people to have a marriage in a certain way, to do it a certain way, and doesn't always work for some people. Some people are swingers, right? And then, what we do is we have a way of sort of insulting them and wanting to shame them. And we'll call a man a cuck. Well, you're a cuck because you let another man do this with your wife. And it's like, but that might be what works for them. I can't say what will and what won't work for me inside of a marriage. You may be shocked at some of the things. I'm like, nah, actually doesn't bother me. You know what I mean? Like some guys, certain things. I've seen guys who walk outside with their wives and their wives are I saw it today. The dude was out with his wife. She had on like sheer black pants and all you can see was ass and a thong. He's probably okay with that. You know what I mean? Like, I can't say that I would be okay with that, but that's their, that's their marriage. And I agree with you 100%, Mr. Bennett, in the sense of if there's no deception, it's not cheating. If you're grown enough to have a conversation about this is what I need, this is what I want, and you two, the both of you can come to an understanding and an agreement, that's not cheating. That's just two grown people having an adult conversation and explaining this is what I need, and then being okay with how that works out. I think oftentimes there's a lack of communication between two adults, and they don't want to talk about, hey, this is what I need. Which is why I tell any women that want to date me, I don't look for monogamy. I'm not looking to be monogamous. So if you want monogamy,
how would you describe? Are you like you're polyamorous or what? How would you classify?
I'm just a whore. I'm gonna sleep with who I want to sleep with. It's plain and simple. Like I've done it. I was in a relationship where I was monogamous.
True. Yeah, you've been.
I didn't cheat. I didn't do anything. I went to work. I came home. I went to work. I came home. The most I ever did was go play golf You know what I mean? And go to the gym. I didn't hang out with my boys unless we were doing a poker night. When they went to strip clubs and to nightclubs and stuff, I didn't go. I did it the right way, and it still ended up in failure. So my belief now, Mr. Bennett, is I'm gonna do whatever the hell I want to do.
Right.
I'm gonna do what I want to do now at this point, because I tried it. I gave it a for real college try. I was honest about it, and I told her, hey, look, prior to that, I don't think I'd ever been faithful in any relationship I had been in. To be honest, I know that I look at it. I think I've cheated on every girlfriend I had, but this particular one I was in, I was like, nah, I'm gonna do it the right way. And it still didn't work. So now I'm like, no. But the only difference now is I tell them at the very beginning. I tell them straight up, look, don't look for. But here's what's surprising, Mr. Bennett. I think you'll be shocked by. Women don't really care. I've had many women say, oh, well, men gonna be men. And they just kind of, and I'm saying, you understand what I'm saying to you? Like, I'm telling you that I'm going to sleep with other women. Yeah, I understand. Men are going to do what they do. And you'd be shocked at how many, obviously there's some women who are like, I can't deal with that. But there are a lot of women who just understand that that's just the nature of men. And they actually respected me more for being honest with them up front. Whereas other men would sell them a dream and, talk about, oh, I would never do that to you. And meanwhile, he's doing what he wants to do. But I completely 100% agree with you. It's not cheating if there's no deception. And I think,
I think
for men,
that,
to be honest.
But I think it like you said, I think it definitely takes a certain level of intimacy, transparency, and there's few people who have that capacity to do so. Now, again, I'm not encouraging people go if you're not ready for that, or the person that you're dealing with, can't handle that, then I wouldn't even entertain it. But especially if you're older, I mean, like I said, my wife was a virgin. I mean, totally innocent. Like we started off on that track. So, and we just never had a need to kind of get off of that track. So again, different situation. But if you've been out here, you've had multiple partners, you've been out here, you've been married or divorced. I mean, both of you have experience. Then I would think that would be a totally different conversation. My wife and I, we're so ignorant, basically. And it wasn't like I wasn't out there. I could probably count on less than one hand the number of partners that I had before I got married. So again, neither one of us was out there. So again, for us, the dynamic works a little bit different for us. But I can certainly see if you're in your 40s, you're in your 50s, and you're like, you've been around the block a few times, you've had kids, you've had whatever. I think there's all types of relationships that are possible and that could work. So, but I still think there has to be a certain level of faithfulness. But again, it's to the terms that you agree to, and let people kind of flesh those
on top of the honesty, right?
Yes.
The faithfulness based on your terms, but it's got to be built on the foundation of honesty and actually saying, hey, look, this is what I want. And oftentimes I don't see, especially, like I said, especially from men, I don't see men just being flat out honest, because guys know, like, come on, man, guys know, when you get with her, where this is going. I could tell a woman up front, sweetie, we're never going to be in a relationship. It's never going to go that direction. I could tell you, I just want to have sex with you. I just tell you the truth. Let me be honest with you. I just want to have sex with you. But and this is why I think the having game and all that mouthpiece and all that stuff, like, I can't stand that stuff, because majority of it is built on lies. It's just all lies.
Yeah.
You're just lying to her. You're just telling her what she wants. It's all lies. Yeah. And so when you get your tires slashed and you get your windshield broken, well, you kind of had it coming, because you sold her. You sold her a dream. You sold her.
Yeah. That timeshare.
Yeah.
You told that timeshare, and now it's like, I can't get out of it. Shout out to the folks on the panel. Yeah, just want quick. So again, ladies and gentlemen, again, I got Wife School Podcast in the building. Alicia is in the building tonight. So this is our call-in show. This is one-on-one call-in show. We're just having a free-flowing conversation. I'm talking about in this season in my life, I'm experiencing for the first time in 30 years business travel. I leave on Monday morning, I got a 6 a.m. flight Monday. I come back Friday night. I'm here for a dash on the weekend, and then I'm out again. And this is going to take place certainly for the rest of this month or going into September. and whatnot. I don't know when the schedule's on. I'm one of the few guys that I'm booked for the whole time. Some guys are just taking time off. I don't really get off until says that my daughter's going to medical school. We're going down there in late September. That'll be a little vacation time or whatever to be with her, or what have you. But this is new territory for me. So again, for those of you, if you're in the chat, if you've been in a situation where, again, you or your significant other, I'll just say that, had to travel for work to the point where they're away more than they're at home. How do you keep things hot? How do you keep things intimate? How do you keep things together? In those situations, how have you handled, or if you did handle, did it cause strain in the relationship? Just the distance does, in fact, they say absence, does it in fact make the heart grow fonder, or do you find yourself in drift? So these are just general topics that we're talking about tonight. But again, anything that we've talked about on prior shows, you guys want to raise up, absolutely. You can certainly bring those to the floor. Again, the link is in the chat. And surely folks are free to come up and certainly join the conversation. But this just sees them in. So in fact, I'm not even going to bed tonight. I'm afraid to even take a nap. I'm just going to be up. I'm going to hang out with my wife a little bit more before I leave, and then I'm just going to get an Uber to the airport, and I'm just going to just kind of keep it try to keep it moving. But this is going to be my life for some time. And
why are you even here? You shouldn't even be on here right now. You should be.
I'm dedicated to the channel, man. The show must go on, man. The show must go on. Actually, when I'm there, it's cool because I still do this. I do the sports show still on Wednesday night. So again, one-on-one sports.
But you need that to occupy your time while you're away. But right now, you don't have any time. You should be with your wife right now. Right now.
It's coming. Like I said, this is the sort of the break in the action. And part of it too is I like when I'm home, I like a sense of normalcy. Like I cook on Sundays. So again, I did some of that tonight and whatnot. Because even when you're away, especially you eat all these meals and stuff, sometimes you just want a home cooked meal. You know what I'm saying? Like restaurant food, and you go in these places and people charge up and all this kind of stuff, corporate money and all, you do all that kind of stuff, and it's just like I just want to be home. I just want a sense of normalcy and sort of touch base and whatnot. So I kind of try to keep things as normal as possible. But you're right. But certainly
we appreciate you. We appreciate you spending your refractionary period with us.
That's it.
While you recuperate.
For the love of the channel, man. For the love of the channel, the network, absolutely.
Because I'm gonna tell you right now, if I was in your position, I would have called my co-host and said, "Hey, I ain't gonna be able to make it tonight."
Yeah. Well, we've had some conversations. Like I said, weekend shows is optional. Certainly at this point until I get until this thing changes. But yeah, I mean, certainly, I'll take a bow, and I think everybody in these spaces, everybody knows that, look, if I got stuff going on, or if I get stuck, because there've been times where, again, I had a flight got changed 5 times, and I'm just trying to manage that, especially flying out of Newark. Newark is just it's just very unpredictable. So even tonight, I'm assuming that I'm flying out tonight. That could change. I may not fly out until the afternoon. So again, I just try to, I stay ready to move when I got to move, but things can kind of pop off at any time. Last couple Fridays, I came home 5 hours in the airport in Jacksonville. Great airport, but I'm just hanging out. So I try to use the time constructively and whatnot. But again, it could be a little bit unpredictable. But weekends, it's like, don't see me. I'm not booking anything. I'm just going to be, yeah.
I will say this though, there is a positive to this though. The positive is definitely that you have something to look forward to.
100%.
I can honestly say that is a really, really good feeling of, what's
no, hang on, black man, no.
Why just a V8 though?
You see what I got to? Shout out to Braxton and Sakefine in the building tonight. Appreciate you being here tonight again. The wife school progress, I went through that. It was annoying at times, just calling one another, and I tried to stay busy. Appreciate wife school for the perspective, but yeah, man. I mean, different people, you're gonna handle these situations differently. But I want to get back to something that Troy, you were talking about earlier. So you're going backwards. In some ways, it doesn't feel backwards. Like the phone conversation. That's kind of it's like that vinyl record. It was in there for a while, but you take it out after a while. And you just put it on deck, and you just all these memories just come back. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but that's by choice though. You decided to become nostalgic, so you went and got the vinyl, right? You don't have any choice. You were pressed.
But it's the same feel. It's almost like when I remember. Were you on the show when I talked about kissing? I think we talked about that.
Not that again.
We talked about this before, Mr. Bennett, and I agree with you 100% that couples don't kiss anymore.
Right.
Yeah.
But I'm just saying. But I still to this day, I'm challenging couples. Like if you've been married for a while, right? When was the last time you and your wife made out? Just for the sake, you in the car, right? You I don't know, you in the mall parking lot or whatever, or after dinner, you got in the car, and you just kiss. Whatever happened to the dance, the intimacy of kissing? What happened to that? It's like you kiss for 6 seconds. And then boom, you just hit it. What happened? It's like making out. Get the Quiet Storm in this area is 107.5 WBLS. Quiet Storm, and y'all just make out. Like when was the last?
Mr. Bennett, couples don't have an excuse. Right?
No, they don't. But they don't do it. That's what I'm saying.
Kissing. Like single men, we have an excuse because we don't know what these women doing out here, right? But couples, y'all been together for a long time. Right? Y'all don't really have an excuse to not be tonguing each other down.
And again, only a couple occasions, guys, say, yeah, you know what, yeah, But again, it's if it's something else, like she might be on her cycle or something like that, and that's when you do it. But I'm just saying, like. Last time you were like in the kitchen, right? She cooking dinner, right? And you come in there, she's cooking there. She's at the sink. You just come. You might kiss her on the shoulder first. You know what I mean? Especially if that shoulder's bare. You know what I mean? She got a string strap on or whatever. You kiss the shoulder first, right? Mm-hmm. And then you hit the neck, and then behind the ear, you part the hair back behind the ear, and then you just tilt the head. And she kind of knows because she kind of leans back. And you just lay one on her.
Dang. You wrap your hands around her waist. You pull her in tight so she can feel that meat package, and then you kill her.
saying, when's the last time, like couples, y'all doing that? Or is it like you kiss for 6 seconds and it's like boom, we got to do this? It's like,
can I give you my theory? Because I was just talking about this the other day. My theory is that the music and the movies and the TV don't reflect that anymore. I'm serious. So you don't see it. I think if you saw it and heard it more, I think more men would do it. But they don't see it happening anymore, so they don't do it. I completely 100% agree with you. Like that. Mm-hmm. I mean, talking about going back and starting from the beginning. I mean, shit, we used to live for the kiss. If you could get a girl to kiss you.
That's what I'm saying. So this thing here, it feels. Like I said, just even that phone conversation. Yeah, it's old. You think, yeah, we grown. We shouldn't have to do it. It feels though. It's like it's new again. You know what I mean? So that's what I'm saying. I mean, if you can still have that going on, that will do a lot. You take care of the physical stuff, the testosterone release. Yeah, get that out your system. But I don't need to be looking at somebody else. If I know I got that going on, we can talk grown and whatnot, and
this
we can
be a reboot in a way for your marriage. If you think about,
I'm hoping that's what I'm hoping the outcome is at the end of the day. That again, when we get home, it's just like we can't keep our hands off each other.
A healthy reboot too.
Yeah,
it's a healthy one. Yeah.
For once, I can't believe I'm out in the air. for once, I actually agree with Trey with these movies and all this stuff is showing. It doesn't show a healthy marriage. Like I keep telling you, Paul, you see Q and some other buddies of mine over only in one hand count. They have great marriages, but they also put a lot of work into their marriage.
Mm-hmm.
You put what you do and you get out. Like CQ can go anywhere you want. You can go anywhere you want. Your wife is going to tell you, like,
oh, geez, wife school, really? Just I don't want to women rather suck them rather than kiss. Dudes are backwards. Well, look, you got a lot of women like that too now, right? Because I think Trey, we talked about this one time on a live where it's almost like the let's just say the lady of the night culture has kind of taken over. Where again they'll do everything else to you, but if you ask them to kiss, they will not kiss you. But they'll do everything else. They'll put their mouth on any part of your body, but kissing is out. I don't care how much you paying them.
It's fast food. It's fast food intimacy, right? So it's filling, but it's you don't get everything. It's not a gourmet meal where they took their time with it, which would be the kissing. It's the fast food. It's the fast food version of intimacy where, all right, you'll get some grinding, you might get some touching. And then you get to it, and then it's over. Versus, if you're with if you're in a couple, you're with your girlfriend, your wife, or whatever, you're gonna get the full meal. You know what I mean? You'll get the full display. She's gonna kiss you. You guys gonna kiss on each other. You're gonna suck and lick, and you're gonna do it all. You know what I mean?
Right. But then then there's the after. You know what I mean? Like you're not trying to bounce. You know what I mean? You're going to stay right there all night until the sun comes up or whatever it is. I mean, again, it's a relationship. It's not it doesn't feel transactional at that point. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but think about, like I said, think about the music. What does the music, encourage and influence? And influence is the 304 nightlife culture.
Well, now,
that being the way to being intimate. So when I was growing up, I was born in the 80s, but my teenage years were in the 90s.
Right.
Well, we had nothing but simp music the entire 90s. I'm talking Jodeci and
Take 6 after 7.
And Keith Sweat, and like all we knew was is to tell a woman, I was a teenager, but to tell a girl like how much you liked her and how much you thought, how pretty she was. Yes, I'm influenced by music. I'm influenced by fashion. I'm influenced by everything that's around me. I'm influenced by my atmosphere. Obviously, I can control what I can control, right? Mm-hmm. But we all are influenced to some degree. The shoes you wear, the shirt you wear, the wig you wear, wife school, it's all influence. We're all influenced by something. But the point I'm trying to make is that if I had a crush, like I used to have a crush on this girl named Shanice, right? Mm. And I remember listening to Boyz II Men and Babyface and thinking, I'll just go tell her how I feel. You know what I mean? Like that'll work. Yeah, it didn't work. It didn't work at all. But again, you don't have that now. Versus if I were to take today's music, it probably would have worked back then better on her back then, because today's music is about. It's about, it's not about telling women, how beautiful they are or whatever. Not, I guess not pedestalizing them. You know what I meant by the wig, but or not pedestalizing them. But it's more about, honestly, it's about letting them know how hypersexual you are, mm-hmm. and getting straight to it. Like, I just want to let you know, I'm just trying to smash. Yeah. Like, and even if that costs money, I mean, the music is about costing money. I was laughing because. Fresh and Fit for a very long time, we're talking about not spending, not buying women, not spending money on coochie. Boy, have they changed their minds here lately. Mm-hmm. Now they're just saying, the way the world is, it's just simpler to just pay for it now. Yeah. Because that's just where we are in society. I don't necessarily agree with it, but that's just where we are. If you can find something authentic, I really am. I'm happy for you. But unfortunately, that's not the way that most people can go.
Yeah.
See, here's my little pushback on that is like, it's easy to pay for it. Yeah. But if you're just taking a girl for a date, you're still paying for it some way, somehow, as a man. If you're just taking it out for dinner, for drinks, or you're just paying her straightforward, like here's $20, drop your pants, let me bang you. Either way, you're paying something. So you cannot say you're not paying something. You're always gonna pay something. So
Well, yeah. Well, the fact is that all men pay, and like I wish Lit was here because you could either pay 40 in the front or you can pay 40 in the back, but you're going to pay at some point in time. But I just find it funny that I think the culture, I think it was obviously taboo at one point in time. It is no longer taboo now, even so much so that the women have come out and said, I need a deposit. We got women on TikTok talking, I need a deposit now. They've accepted that they're, that they are for essentially for sale, right? And obviously, I don't think that recipe is for a long-term success. I don't think that works long-term at all. I do think that it works for guys in my situation who are single and who are not looking to be in emotional relationships and things of that nature. Yeah, that works perfectly for guys in my situation, but for guys who want actual relationships and want to build that relationship on honesty, trust, loyalty, intimacy, yeah, you in trouble, buddy. You in trouble out here. It's gonna be hard. It's gonna be hard. It's not impossible, but it's gonna be extremely difficult. But unfortunately, the influences, getting back to my original point, the influences that we have, it doesn't encourage men to be the romantic guys. It doesn't. We're not, to be romantic, to be, you think about the guys back in the 60s and 70s, what they would say to these women, though, even the way they catcalled them. Well, what I mean? Like we don't do any of that. A lot of guys don't even talk. A lot of guys don't even talk to women now. They don't even say a word to them in public. You know what I mean? We're just at a different time, and unfortunately, it's showing in the relationships. It's showing in the birth rate numbers. It's showing in the marriage numbers and the divorce numbers. It's showing we're just at a bad place. And I personally, I truly attribute it to social media. I truly attribute it to the music, the movies, the media, and not putting out. It's okay to tell a woman she's beautiful. Like it's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, for sure. Again, this is our gray area call-in show. So again, I put the link in the chat. So again, Wife School, if you want to come up and join the conversation, certainly you're more than happy to. Again, for most people here, again, we got to be able to see you. Again, certain people we know. But if you're new to the chat or whatever, again, you got to show your face. So if you want to come on the live, but we know certain people, certainly in the spaces we give that grace to. But certainly, again, this loose, free-form conversation tonight. But again, I'm in this season of travel. So again, for those who are joining, again, what do you do? So again, we talked about the dangers and the pitfalls of being away and things like that. But what are some of the things that you actually do to keep your marriage, to keep your relationship sound and clicking when you have to be away for long periods of time? How are you able to maintain and keep it together? Now, I know some people who refuse to travel for that very reason. Like they wouldn't allow their wives, certainly not their wives to travel, or they wouldn't travel themselves because they feel like their wife will be therefore uncovered, and so because they're uncovered, then therefore that's setting up a dangerous precedent. So I know some guys, they refuse to travel for work or whatever for that very reason, because they don't want to have their wives in an unprotected or uncovered situation. So again, but for those of you, if you have traveled, if you do have a long distance relationship, how do you keep things simmering? How do you keep things intimate? How do you stay connected even when you're away? And to Trey's earlier point, do you allow hall passes? I'll just say that if you allow hall passes, is that an acceptable alternative in your world, as far as a way to move to keep the connection going? So again, anybody wants to join the conversation, we're going to go on for another 30 minutes because I do on the rush schedule, so we're not going to let the show go too late tonight, as usual, because I do have to travel. But certainly the lines are open if someone wants to join the conversation. And Trey, I really appreciate you helping us just to steer some of this conversation. I always respect your intellect and what you bring to the table. So always appreciate you, man.
You know what's funny about tonight? It's me, Trey, try to kill each other. This is the second time in one night we are agreeing on something. I agree about what he was saying. Trey, me and you cannot make this a habit, bro. We're better at enemies as friends. Trust me on that one. Joking aside, but he's right. At this point in life, we are at a crossroad as men because relationships are down, marriages are down, divorce rates high rocket. Where do you stand in trying to meet somebody decent and reasonable? You know how hard that is? Like, you don't count, Paul, because you've been married, since the dinosaur age. Like we're paying. You guys don't count anymore. But people like myself and Trey, who are trying to meet somebody, it's fucking difficult.
Well, I don't know if Trey's in the quote unquote trying to meet somebody. I think, he's trying to. He's going to do what he's going to do.
I'm not trying to meet somebody. You know what I'm saying? But here's the thing. I agree with Peter on this, because the issue is in order to date someone today, you have to be willing to let go, to overlook a lot of stuff. Mm-hmm. So I've been watching a lot of clips. People have been doing reviews of like Pop the Balloon and like Kendra G and all these like dating shows, right? And one thing I realized is that if you want to date a woman, you're going to have to overlook some stuff. And if that is a standard for you, like for me, having children is a standard, that's an automatic deal breaker for me, right? Well, I've eliminated a large portion of Black women. You know what I mean? Like, I've eliminated a large portion of Black women now by having, so Peter's in the market because he's looking, but the more and more he has a standard, the pool gets smaller for him, and it gets smaller for him. It gets smaller for him. And then he has to start to say, okay, well, maybe I'll relax my standard on this, and maybe I'll relax my standard on that. And then you start to get this feeling of, well, am I settling now? Am I just, you know what I mean? And age plays a number to this. We're getting older. I'm not in my 30s anymore. I'm 40 now. So it's like, all right, well, maybe I can relax my stand. Okay, she can have a little bit of weave. Maybe she ain't got to have a lot of bit of weave, but she can have a little bit of weave. I'm being honest. I'm being real with you, Mr. Bennett. Like, I had a real standard on wigs and weaves and stuff. Now I'm like, all right, she got a little bit. As long as it ain't crazy. Right. You know what I mean? You start to relax. But if you are truly, truly trying to find someone, the pool, people like to say there's piss in the pool. I don't believe in that stuff, because that would essentially say that everybody in the pool is perfect and nobody in the pool is perfect. None of us are perfect. Gotcha. Right. So all of us.
Now also in your case, you're not looking to have any more kids, right? So age is
I'll have more kids.
Oh, you'll have more? Or do you want more?
I want more, actually. Okay.
So that's so age is gonna affect, because I can see something that what you're saying with an older woman, but if you're still looking in the 20-something pool, then yeah, I certainly understand.
Well, I don't have a choice. I have to look in the 20-something.
Exactly. Pool. Yeah. I didn't know if you still wanted kids.
I always wanted. I don't come from a big family, so it was just me, my mother, and my sister.
Right.
So and then my extended family outside of that, but we don't have a. I don't come. I have a large family, but I don't have a. You know what I mean? Like, our connection is small. Yeah. So I've always wanted a big family. I am so jealous of these big families on Thanksgiving and like Christmas and like, when one of the guys graduates and it's like they got 30 cousins, and I'm like, I've always, because I didn't have that growing up. Yeah. I've always wanted that.
That's changing across the board though, because I mean, even like family reunions aren't even that big anymore. You just go to family reunions like 200-300 people. You know what I'm saying? Now it's like you get 50 people in a room. It's like, they did a study, Mr. Bennett. They showed that family reunions are down over 50%. Yeah,
nobody's having family reunions anymore.
No one's having family. That's the thing.
Well, that too, yeah.
I mean, if you're not getting together, it's going to be harder. And again,
it's because the influence of the media is not telling you to. The influence of the media is not telling you to go find a woman, go be with her, go be happy with her, start a family. It used to be buy a house, white picket fence, the American dream, right? 2.5 kids, right? 2 kids and a dog, right? They used to push this stuff. Now it's F these hoes, and I got a roster now, and you know what I mean? And I'm talking, that's man and woman. The women got a roster and the men got a roster, you know what I mean? And I'm out here and I would never get married, and red pill and manosphere and all, like, you got all of this influence. And I think a lot of people, especially men, I think a lot of men actually want to be in relationships, and I think the women want to be in relationships too. But for some reason, like we can't plug the right cords into the right sockets. Like we can't, for whatever reason, we can't make these connections, and it's because a lot of people are thinking, oh, and the other part of this too. I think the other generations, I was talking to my grandmother about this. The other generations dealt with hurt much better than the modern generations do. When you get cheated on now, these dudes will never date another woman ever in their life, ever again. Whereas when I was growing up, if your girlfriend cheated on you, you went and messed with her best friend. That's how you got her back. Like like you didn't just sit there and just take it and then go sulk in your room. Like you did something about it. Whereas now, you know, they've got all this music. They got these artists who sit there and they sing these depressing ass songs. And it's like, no, go do something, you know, go be with another woman, like move, like get past it. And the trauma really defines them now when they get hurt. Like they get hurt and was in a relationship with hurt and I'll never be with anybody ever again. It's like,
I have a theory here. My theory was when we were young, you know, we were on the streets, you know, messing around with this women. We screwed over a lot of women as young men. Now the role got reversed. You know, the older woman says, you know, fuck you. You fucked us over. Our turn to fuck you guys over now. I have no studies behind that. I have no theories. I don't have any facts. But that's my theory, saying we fuck them over when we were in our 20s. Now that we're serious, there says, you know what? Payback's a bitch.
Yeah.
I'll help you in this sense, Peter. Men, I believe, are the more vulnerable one in the relationship. So when it doesn't work out, I think we take it harder. We take it rougher than the women do. Women oftentimes, you know, I was talking to my daughter's mom and I was asking when we was dating, like, how many guys did you have? Because I never went through her phone or anything. How many guys you have in your DM? And she sort of had like this little smirk, because I believe that women always have a bunch of guys. There's always guys around. So they're okay with moving on. They have an abundance mentality, right? They're always okay with moving on. So it's not really that big a deal to them. Whereas for us, it's not necessarily the same. We don't necessarily have the same abundance. So when we get a good girl, we want to keep her. And if it doesn't work out that way, we're actually hurt more. So I think that's one of the reasons why we don't move on. It's like men typically don't move on as fast as the women do or whatnot. But
I can give you a perfect example. My ex, like I told Paul this in private, but my ex recently reached out to me. He's telling me, oh, she's remarried. She moved to Texas, all this stuff. And I'm like, I know she was cheating on me towards the end of the relationship. I'm not stupid. So you got married in 3 months after our relationship ended, but you were dating this person 6 months. I can do math. 1 + 1 = 2. So she moved on just like that. She didn't even flinks. And why you reach out to me after all 3.5 years? So you think you're gonna hurt me after 3.5 years? Yeah, if this was, you know, a year, you know, or 2 years, 3 years, you know, actually not 3 years. Let's say 6 months after the relationship, yeah, I would have been hurt. I'm not denying that. You're 100% right, Trey. But if it was 3.5 years later, I don't give a shit, to be honest with you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Want to address May's point here. Defined relationship, is it platonic relationship or side piece? I say yes to all that. It's what you define it to be. You know what I mean? If you know what, but are people having the real honest conversation that says, what is it that you want, or what are your expectations, and are you willing to sign up for them? So again, if we platonic, fine. If we want to be romantic, want to move it to romantic space, I'm cool with that. But or are you going to be a side piece? I think it's all about, again, what you guys want and what you sign up for. So that would be my thing with that. It's what you define it to be, I think, more so than anything else.
It's either romantic or side piece for me. Platonic is a waste of my time, and I wouldn't do it. Right. So I don't have any platonic relationships with women. And,
that surprised me a little bit, honestly. Because you talk to everybody. You some real just.
Yeah, but I'm also honest with females. Right. Like I have a homie, and she's fine, Mr. Bennett. Like she's fine. She's black, and she's black and French. Her dad is French. She's fine, and she, we can be friends. And I told her straight up, we can never be friends, because I want to have sex with you. Like straight up. Like I'm not even hiding it. I want to. And she was taken back at first. She was like, "What?" I'm like, "I'm just telling you straight up. Like, don't call me and want to tell me about your day because I don't care nothing about that. I'm telling you right now. What's up?" And she kept it 100. And let's just say our relationship wasn't platonic. I was just honest with her. I can't do platonic. It doesn't serve me. It only serves the woman. It doesn't serve me anything because I don't want to sit on the phone and talk about my day with you. I don't care to do it. And I don't care to talk about, as you said before, Harry and Susie and what's going on in the world. I don't care to have that conversation. We talking about.
But was she totally unattractive though? So she's unattractive, but she's cool as because I've met some very unattractive women. Like, but again, you could just talk to them. You know what I mean? You never met anybody like that. That's
nah.
300-pound Bertha or whatever. You just or Lady Rage or whatever. Just somebody like that who you could just be cool with, and she's just cool as She might come off as rough. She might be a little masculine, but
So here's the thing, right? You'll get a lot of guys that come on YouTube that have these super huge egos and will say like, "Oh no, I don't do that. I ain't got to do all that. I'm 6'8" and I ain't got to do all that." And they're lying through their teeth, right? I'm not 6'8". I'm 5'11", right? There's been some slow Tuesdays in my life. If you see where I'm going with that,
yep.
There's been some slow Tuesdays in my life where I've had to call Bertha and say, "What you doing?" You know what I'm saying? You see where I'm going with this? I've had to call Bertha. So even Bertha, no, we can't be platonic friends, Bertha.
Bertha started good after a while.
Because if the Tuesday slow enough,
oh man,
Bertha makes a phone call. I'm just being honest. A lot of guys won't say that, but that's the truth. Because we always trying to make it seem like, oh no, but no, there's a lot of guys that don't have. There's guys who got it like that. They don't have to worry about the Berthas, right? But but majority of men ain't got it like that. We don't have it like that. Most men are mid-average looking, just as much as we talk about the women being mid to average looking. Most of the guys are mid to average looking, and so is their bank accounts. So guess what? You're gonna have to call Bertha from time to time because the real hottie she don't really want to. She had other plans. She didn't really want to come through and come mess with you tonight. So it's a slow Tuesday. Hey Bertha, what you doing tonight, Bertha? Did you cook? Because Bertha always cook. Did you cook tonight, Bertha? You cook? What you cook? I'm gonna come over. I'm hungry. Save me a plate. And then what happens after that.
Right. Now, would you marry Bertha though?
Hell no. No, you don't marry Bertha. No.
I know. I remember that old Jimmy Cliff song. If you want to be happy, right? You want to be happy for the rest of your life. Never make a pretty woman your wife. From my personal point of view, get an ugly girl to marry you because she'll cook. She'll have that meal on time, and that was just a fun. So it's on my playlist.
I think there's some truth to that though.
Mm-hmm.
I think there's some truth to not being with the pretty woman. I've dated some really, really attractive women, and there's a few things that they do lack. One of the things that they typically lack is some sort of social skill, right? Because they've always just been pretty.
Right. People come to them. They never had to necessarily engage with them. People drawn to them. Yeah.
Exactly. People engage with them because they're pretty. So she doesn't really know how to have conversations. I would say this, if I were to ever get married, and I would never get married through the state, but if I were to ever get married, more than likely she's not going to be the most attractive woman you ever see in the world. Because I just have my reservations about super beautiful women, and I don't think we're compatible for what I'm looking for. Right. My ex is very attractive, but she's not the most attractive woman I've ever dated. Right. She had other things, right? Now from a body standpoint, that's a little bit different. I am looking for certain things as far as her body is concerned. Yeah. But her face, she may not be a supermodel in the face. She may.
I've always said the same thing. I've always had you always heard those face body questions, right? You want the beautiful face, average body, or average face, beautiful body. I take the body 10 times out of 10 twice on Sunday. That's
if I could get a slightly above average face and a slightly above average body, I think that's the perfect zone. If I can get it right there,
I'm saying extreme. I'm saying go extreme. 4 in the face, 10 body, or 10 face, 4 body. That's what
beauty is also what's your opinion on that? What?
Yeah, subjective. Yeah.
Yes, thank you. What Poland finds attractive, I may not, and what you find attractive, I may not, and vice versa. So,
but sometimes I don't even. But sometimes I don't even have my own stand. Some women were just like, you don't know why, like they don't check off any box I don't know if some pheromones they're giving off or something, but there's some I just can't explain it away. But it just is. So as long as I get that, she could be pretty, she could not be pretty or whatever. But as long as I got that back in the day, I didn't care. But some women have that impact on you, and you can't explain it. It's like I would never date you. You know, you're not in my profile in terms of what I'm looking for.
No,
but they just do it for you.
Sparta's right on this. Everybody, there's objective beauty, right? Where we can all say, okay, this person is just a beautiful woman, and everybody can agree to that, right? But when we break it down, like for me, I find funny, sort of goofy, playful women attractive.
Mm-hmm.
There's some guys who can't stand that. That's the worst. That's the last thing they want. Whereas me, and the reason is because I have a tendency to be super serious. I'm sort of serious majority of the time. That's just sort of my demeanor. That's how I come off. So I need the opposite. You can't put me with a serious woman. We're just gonna be serious and mean mugging everywhere we go. It doesn't work out. So I need to be with a woman who's sort of playful and kind of, you know, she's funny and she's charismatic. You know what I mean? She has personality, because I need that to sort of pull me out of that serious funk. Right. So I agree with Sparta on this, that the beauty is really, it's truly subjective, and what I think is attractive versus what you think is attractive. And that's why I say, even with the marriages, so how some people run their marriages versus how others, let them people, you know what I mean? Whatever. Let them people run their marriage how they run their marriage, because that's what works for them.
100%. You know, so, and again, I think there was some of that certainly in the YouTube space. You know, you had certain content creators who tried to sell like this is what a marriage is supposed to look like. And if you went against the grain, and I was like, wait a minute, and this is coming from content creators, they didn't even have marriages themselves.
Ain't never been married.
You're going to tell someone who's been married 10, 15 years that they doing it wrong. How is that? So I never understood that.
Mr. Bennett, they got content creators out here he's only been in one serious relationship, and he telling people how to be in relationships. Sir, you talking about never living with a woman? That's insane. Mm-hmm. That's crazy talk. What are we talking about? Oh, don't ever live with a woman. You sound crazy. Don't
get Paul started with that. That's the one thing me and him argue all the time about.
Right. I mean, I have my views on that. I mean, you know, cohabitating, I'm not a huge fan, because I don't think that necessarily ensures, if the destination is marriage, I don't know if cohabitation ensures a better outcome. At least that's just me personally, but that's only anecdotal from what I've seen, because it seems like when it's for real, things just happen. You just move differently in marriage as you do just living with somebody. So that's my main call out. I certainly wouldn't recommend certainly for my daughters if they were in that a particular situation. But that's just how I feel about it. But again, people going, you know, cohabitate or whatnot, you know, you're going to do what you're going to do. But I don't think one necessarily ensures a better outcome. But if you really want to be a married person, then I think certainly moving in that direction, that we're going to get married and then we're going to do this. But I'd say a lot of cohabitators, marriage actually moves off the table more times than that. At least, again, from my anecdotal, it moves off the table, because then it's like, well, why we got everything already, why we need to do it? So, and then I've seen people who've lived together for several years, got married and divorced a year or two later. I've seen that as well. So, you know, so again, I'm much more in the, you know, if you're serious about this is what you want, then move in that direction. But as far as the gradualism of it, I just don't see value at it. But I appreciate people who have a different perspective on that, though.
No, I'm both ways on this. I've obviously lived with women, and boy, am I glad that I lived with them. I'm glad that I test drove that car.
Yeah.
And found and really did a good thorough walk around that car and kicked the tires and made sure that I knew what I knew. But on the other hand, I agree with you, Mr. Bennett, because I know couples that didn't live together, got married, and got divorced 2 years later after living together, right? But then I also know couples that didn't get married, didn't live together, got married, lived together, and they've been married for 15 years plus going on. So at the end of the day, the way I'm starting to understand this marriage thing is, and I've said, and I don't know if you've ever heard me say this to you, but I've certainly said it to our pain. if you have a good marriage, you have legitimately captured lightning in a bottle, because there's so many things that have to go right for a marriage to make it to 30 years. Like, even because the fact of the matter is, you ain't always going to like each other every day. Even in a relationship, you're not going to like each other every day. So I can only imagine what that feels like when you're in a marriage and you've made a covenant with God and there's an obligation. Now you're not going to like each other. So I truly believe that when you see people who have been in these marriage, I said it to my homeboy the other day when we were talking, because he was bitching and moaning about his marriage, and I said, you don't realize that you've really captured lightning in a bottle. You know how hard it is to actually get to your point 15 years plus with the girl that you chased for 3 years in high school that wanted nothing to do with you because you were sliding in every female you could find, and she still married you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, you don't realize that you actually kind of figured this out, right? But the issue is that, again, people have to want to do this, and that's what I'm realizing. You have to want to be in a marriage. Otherwise, it's just not going to happen. If you don't want to be there, you're just not going to be there, right?
It's a version of that is, where do you find a cheat code for that? If you got a cheat code, please tell us, because 1,000 other men wanted to know it too.
But Sparta, I think that's the problem. I think men are looking for a cheat code, and I don't think there is a cheat code.
Yeah. It's just like there's no cheat. It's just like there's no cheat code for parenting either. You know what I mean? Parenting is there's no book for that whatsoever. You know what I mean? So I think it's the same way. I think you have to have a
true on the job training.
Yeah. But I think it's a combination. I think that it's a combination. So again, Matt was asking, what's a good marriage? I think it's you have some rigidity and some flexibility. There's certain things that, look, we're not getting off of this. But then you got to have some elasticity too, to accept how a person changes. I'm not the same person I was 30 years ago, and neither is my wife. And we have gone through those periods, and we have gone through those times. I had 3 kids in 4 years. So there was definitely a lot of stress. There was definitely a lot of pressures, a lot of things that were going on that we had to kind of work ourselves through to come to an arrangement that's something that we can accept. So again, a good marriage is a marriage that you can agree on. A good marriage is one where terms change. A good marriage is one where, again, you roll with, and you grow, you accept the growth and change of another person. So I think, as long as you guys have your oars rowing in the same direction, even if you change course, I still think that's a good marriage. And so, but it may not have to look like your marriage or anybody else's. That's why, like, anybody who puts, y'all put that work in. I mean, I don't think, no one has a right to judge that and say, oh, they doing it wrong. I'm like, I just don't listen to those voices. But as long as you guys know what you have, you make it work. And that's one of the tragedies with my brother. His wife died a couple years ago, and you go to that house, it was like the most chaotic house that you could find. I mean, but at the same time, you could see there was a lot of love in that house. I mean, I can't tell you how many people they took in, like cousins and in-laws and just people who, like, kids who needed a place to stay. That house was like a refuge for so many people. And as crazy it was, you could see a dynamic that they made it work. But once they kind of got off where they couldn't appreciate what they had, as like I said, it didn't look like mine, but I was telling them, but what you have works. They would get it like 30 years. But she got to a point where she's like, I don't know, was just looking outside and thinking the grass was greener somewhere else. And things went bad for both of them afterwards, but they never should have split. That's the thing I was trying to tell him. It's like, look, your stuff looks crazy over here, but it's crazy functional how this thing works. But they couldn't appreciate it to the same extent. So it was tragic. I was upset more so when she passed, more so than anything, because I'm like, this didn't have to happen. You left your tribe. You left your, again, it's crazy as it is. That is yours. Embrace it. And it just went, in that direction. So I feel real bad, and he's still suffering with that today. But it's like, that's something that never should have that never should have. They were stronger together, and I could certainly see it from the outside. But unfortunately, they had a problem seeing it, even though it worked for that period of time. So what a good marriage is, you're not going to define that. But again, can you guys get on the same page and forget about everybody else? I think at the end of the day, that's what really matters.
Yeah, I was gonna say, how about you and your wife sit down and y'all determine what a good marriage is, and then the two of y'all work towards that. It doesn't have to be defined by what other people think a good marriage is.
Yeah.
Most of the people who have an opinion on a good marriage, they don't have a good marriage. So, you know what I'm saying? Like, you and your wife sit down and y'all determine, okay, what's our goal here? Because that's how I would do it. If I ain't gonna get married through the state, but if I were gonna be in a long-term committed relationship that somehow resembles a marriage, that's what I would ask her. I would sit her down and say, what do you define a good marriage? What is a good marriage to you? And let's see if we're on the same page here. Are we on the same page? We are? Okay, good. Then we have something to work towards. Otherwise, she's working towards one thing and I'm working towards another, and we're not on the same page. And this thing about chaos, listen, if you were to walk into my office, you might think it's chaos, but I know where everything is.
Exactly.
I know where everything is in that office.
Exactly.
I promise you. And I think some people's homes are like that. When we walk in, we're like, yo, this is crazy what's going on in here. But that's what works for them. You might walk into my house and say, yo, this dude is too neat. That doesn't, I've had people come in my house and say, I don't want to touch anything. My sister did that. When she first came to my house, I just got the house. She's like, I don't want to touch anything because I'm scared I'm going to break something. And she's just like, it's just too neat in here because she doesn't live like that. She lives in a little bit of what I would call chaos.
Yeah.
But it works for her. She's an artiste. She's a creative. So, things are everywhere. Whereas I'm a lot more.
Have you always been that way? That came from like your military or whatever. Like, you've always been that kind of organized.
No, I've always been like that. Now, even when I was a kid, I've always been neat and organized, and like even my Hot Wheels. It's a true story. You can ask my mother. Even my Hot Wheels as a kid, I arranged them by color. So I've always been. Oh, wow. I've always been
some OCD, right?
Yeah, I've always been neat and organized. But again, to me, that's normal, right? To my sister, she's uncomfortable. She's like, this is crazy. You see what I'm saying? Yeah. But I know where everything is in that office, and that's all that matters. And some marriages, I know I have an aunt and uncle that if I sat you in front of them, Mr. Bennett, you was like, they don't like each other. They love each other more than anybody I've ever seen.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
The way they talk about each other like dogs, Mr. Bennett. But when it's time to eat, she get up and she'll make his plate. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's like, it doesn't compute in our head because it's like, yo, what? They love each other. I guarantee you. That's their flow. That's their vibe. That's what they do. Yeah, that's who they are. Exactly.
100%. But we're coming up towards the certainly the end of the show. Certainly appreciate the chat coming in. I'll entertain one more question again. So, family business again. Thank you for joining us tonight. Again, with the current state of black stats in the black community, what do you recommend to black men, black women, if that's what you want? I'm pro black, and I love seeing black people get married. I like black men marrying black women, having black babies, creating black excellence and black legacy. I'm blackity black to that point. I love that. But if you got to go outside, if that's your thing, do you? You know what I mean? The kids will still be black at the end of the day, but I'm just saying, so again, it's understand having an idea what you want. So when I talked about rigidity earlier, it's about the things that you will not compromise on. So one of the things that me and wife were rigid about, we ain't leaving. Be rigid on that. We are not leaving. And then let everything else just kind of, work itself out. But there's, like I said, change is growth. There's, there's kids. There's the levels, having girls. I got all girls, having teenagers, having young women, having all these, different phases of life, going through, different jobs and layoffs and things like that. Now I'm traveling, having flexibility to allow all that still to happen. But there's certain things we don't compromise on God. And we don't compromise on the vows that we made to each other. So, yeah, we're pretty rigid on that. But have the flexibility, though, to allow people to grow and change. And as these things come in, it shouldn't be the end of everything. If our marriage is worth anything, if it's going to be tested at any time, it's going to be now. But again, we doing things even now where it doesn't feel like a test. Yes, does absence makes the heart? Yes, I miss my wife when I'm gone, physically, mentally, and everything else that's there. I like the idea of just being able to just crawl up in bed with her every night. Yes, I miss that. We've never been apart from each other for any length of time except now. And yeah, so that's an adjustment. But again, this too shall pass. And I just want to make sure that we're, certainly we're in a good state when we, when this passes. And hopefully what I'm doing now with travel is going to benefit us later on, because I'm getting a ton of frequent flyer miles right now. And so we're going to turn those miles in and be like, baby, where we going? And that's part of the conversation also. Things that we want to do. Our kids are going to have one kid out the country, and kids are getting into their careers and whatnot. So, okay, so so we talking about us, what we going to be doing. And just always have that mindset. When I come home on the weekend, what we doing? So start planning early, find shows, attractions. We love going to comedy shows. We love going to certainly different excursions and whatnot. What can we do for the weekend? So again, just that plan, not just letting weekends happen, but being a little bit more planned, a bit more prepared. So all of that is on the table for us. So again, having the flexibility to work with these changes when they come your way that weren't expected, but we here now. Now what we gonna do? But the rigidity, we're not leaving. And so definitely, that's kind of what we, what we have things, and and we'll just kind of continue to work with it. But certainly we appreciate. Yeah,
I have an idea for you and your wife. All right?
What is that?
Okay, so you get best picture you can find her. All right, then you have to Google this. There are companies that make blow up dolls that can put your wife's face on it, so when you call her in bed, you got her right next to you.
No.
Hey,
I got an idea. I got an idea for you.
What's
but
that?
it's a little X-ray. It's a little X-ray.
Okay, all right,
go for it.
But they make a you can have a cast of your wife made for your own pleasure. If you know where I'm going with this.
Yes, I do.
And you can take it wherever you want, and it would actually be her, because they made it. No, no. Okay. All right. Well, hey, look, I'm just telling you, that's probably what I would do. If I was married and I knew I was going to be gone for a week at a time, I'd probably go get a cast of my woman done so that I could, if I needed to go relieve myself, at least it would be to her. But I will tell you this, though. In my last relationship, we worked opposite shifts. So we barely saw each other, right? We both were cops. We didn't see each other a lot. And I had her send me a lot of pictures and videos. That's all I'm going to say. I mean, lots of them, okay?
Right.
Because we didn't see.
They're not swimming out on the internet somewhere. They're on some cloud drive somewhere.
No. I made sure to take the necessary precautions to not put them on the cloud, because you can choose what pictures go on
I got you.
the cloud and what doesn't. But I used to tell her all the time, unless you want me watching other material, because I'll watch it. Unless you want to watch other material, I need you to send me. And she took it personally, so she made sure that I had more than enough material, because we were literally passing in the night. You know what I mean? And to the guy real quick was talking about what do Black women and men need to do. I think our community, for one, needs to redefine what the hell commitment means. I don't think we truly understand what the word commitment actually means. Yeah. It doesn't mean that, you changed your mind, I don't want to do this anymore. So when we get back to understanding what actual commitment means, then maybe we'll see the statistics change more in favor of families. But until then, until we understand communication and commitment, we can forget about it. Yeah. At the end of the day, that's all it comes down to. That's all a marriage is going to come down to, is the two people who are committed to staying together regardless of what happens. And then they've got to persevere through all of the problems that are inevitably going to come. So the commitment is really the issue. And if you're having a conversation with a woman that you're vetting, and you're not having a conversation with her about commitment, what are you actually really doing?
Absolutely. Well, this has been certainly a fun conversation. Again, thank you, Trey, for being a part of it. Again, you've always been a thoughtful guy.
I appreciate it.
Yes, sir. And we're going to come to our closing comments. So, Trey, anything that you want to announce? What you up to these days, man? What you doing with yourself?
Not a whole lot. Staying out the way and staying out of trouble, and trying to predict what Trump's going to do in the market. So that's always fun.
There you go.
That's a full-time job in itself.
I heard
But
that.
yeah, and and honestly, and been paying attention to working on staying in peaceful. There's a lot of crap on YouTube, so it's staying in peaceful places. There's been some things that some shows that I don't watch anymore, some places I don't go anymore.
Yeah,
because I'm not feeling the vibe. You know what I mean? So I try to stay away from it.
Well, do me a favor. Try to come in on Wednesday because I got to ask about your guy McLaurin in Washington, man. What they doing down there? So we gotta chop. We gonna save some of that.
I don't want to talk about it.
We're gonna chop that up on Wednesday. One-on-one sports show here on the Black Mountain Unfiltered Network. But we're about to call it a show. So Pete, your closing thoughts. Any suggestions for me outside? So the pillow idea, I don't think it's gonna work for me. But blow up doll. Nah, that's artificial, man. But in any event though, any other good advices, sound advices that you can give a brother, help your brother. That might be the soundest advice that you
want midnight sense?
Mail me some. Does it dry out? Mail me some, so I have to worry about it.
I will.
But in any event, yeah, I'll send you my hotel information later. But in any event, again, we want to thank you guys for being on with us tonight on the show. We're going to wrap this up. So I'm going to be on the road, but again, I should still be in these spaces. Again, Sunday Night Gray Area. Always look forward to this, and this is kind of almost like my release as well. Always love chopping out with my guy Pete, and we just have a good time. So just stay tuned for more shows. Yeah.
Don't forget, Tuesday will be the last show on my network I'll be on for a few days. I am going to Maryland.
Oh, that's right.
4 days.
Right. All right, so I'll have you covered when I'm down there. I'll have you covered for a few days.
With us, by the way?
What's that?
Is Trey still on with us?
No, he dropped off.
I was gonna ask him. I know he's in Maryland. I was gonna ask him where in Maryland he's at.
Yeah, a lot of our guys are in that
Maryland, Virginia,
exactly. A lot of guys, so we got so try to see if you can get with those guys, Pop Coach World, all those guys. See if we can do a big show. Get all these guys together in the same room. That'd be fly. I think definitely pull it off. I'm going to see CQ. Obviously, I'm going to see him. I'm going to see King over on Thursday. Yep.
I am supposed to try to meet up with Bossman, but I'm not sure that's going to happen because he's left further out than I thought from where I'll be staying. So that might be a plus. I'm not sure about that.
Yeah. Shout out to King and Michelle. Again, make sure you follow them on the King and Me show. I know they came back from Japan recently. And that's the thing. I've been so bad. I haven't followed this show in a couple of weeks, but definitely they always give good content. So definitely look at get re-engaged with that show as well. But certainly for everyone who's joined us tonight, we appreciate you being on. Certainly again, make sure you hit the like button as you leave the show. And so certainly, we appreciate until next time. Again, for those who still have comments out there, still seeing those. But again, join us for our next call in. If you got smoke, bring the smoke, and again, join the conversation so we can have intelligent dialogue. So,
just on a side note, if you have more questions and you want a more faster response, we have the both fan pages, Black Filter and Sports HQ Network is two options. And on my side of the channel on Sports HQ Network, the channel's emails is actually located in the description. So if you want to email one of us, go ahead.
Absolutely. All right. So for myself, again, Loss, always a pleasure being with us tonight. But for us, so for myself, Mr. Bennett, and he is.
This is Sparta!
And this is the Gray Area Show. You guys enjoy your week. Take care. God bless. Be safe. We will see you next week. Good night.